Okay. Starting with APT on 1 day time frame. So this is good news in a way. This is forming a base. No new low. So that's encouraging. But there's no price action. But this is at least holding up. So this is this is immediate support, you may say. And then of course this low is the ultimate reference point for APT. So the APT, if you look at from a trend line point of view, this is the downtrend, and then there's another downtrend it's following like this. Yeah, something like this. So it has to decide somewhere here. So again, like Bitcoin, it has to decide. So so this was a bounce, but if this structure is broken somewhere here, this could be retest somewhere here, but then this will be too weak for this to hold in my point of view. Yeah, it could happen that it comes again to this level and then shoots up technically, but yeah, we'll see. But unless it breaks about this one, this is like a neutral zone from setup point of view. This is there's no clarity here. Clarity would come here or somewhere here. If one is taking side, so if I'm a trader, if I'm shorting, I'm just giving an example. So I'll give just one example. If I'm shorting here, this is my support, and then I'll calculate what is my risk. 12% is my risk, so I'll decide if I want only 6% or 3% of my, if I don't want to take too much of risk and only, let's say, 2-3%, so my sizing will be similar to which is like 1/4 of that one, something like that, 1/4, 25%. Then I'll cut down the risk by that much. So that's my calculation. If I go long, then I would keep my support here, somewhere here, somewhere here. We just to be conservative. No. Of course, one can think about this one also, but I would keep with respect to this structure. And in that case, I'll calculate again the same way. This is my risk, which is 6%. And if I want to take only 2% risk, then 1/3. So if I go long, then and with a 2% risk, 1/3 of my position makes sense. If I want only 1% risk, then of course the size would be even smaller. That's the calculation, because we don't know if I take 1% risk, because it could go down and then touch this one. So if I'm stopped out here with 1% loss, I would like to take opportunity another one here when it starts bouncing. And of course, then I would calculate the same way. If I'm exited, probably then it's done deal, because then it doesn't make sense. Right. So if I'm going long, I would take one chance here with 1% risk or 2% risk, depends on my preference. If I'm stopped out, I'll take another chance and wait for somewhere like this area and take another chance. This is how the planning, this is the planning process. And it's because there's no certain, it's not bouncing, it's just sideways. So this is how the planning would go. And the same thing, as I said, if I'm shorting, this is my support, and then ultimately this is a bigger support, like even at a higher end, like this one. So it has to break about this one for R1. So this is also not good enough. It has to break about this one. Typically, we show that with a green level, right? So if I'm shorting, then I'll stop out here, very small size and 1%. So the risk should determine the size, remember, as far as best practice is concerned. And it's not important how many times trader stops out. What is important is how many percentage of loss one end up with. So if I take 5 chances with 1%, I would lose 5%. But then if 6th time, if it works in my way, I may end up with 10%, 20% move. In that case, that 5% will be covered automatically, right? That's the way. So in that case, if you count failures, 5 failures and 1 success, but that 1 success is going to cover my 5% loss and also end up in profit. So it's not about 5 losses versus 1 win. It's about 5% loss versus, let's say, 10% win. This is how trading works. People sometimes think that the expert traders do not get stopped out. No, they get stopped out, but they know that when they get stopped out, how much they lose, because they are mentally prepared that if they are stopped out, they're going to end up with this much loss, 1%, 2%, whatever. And they know that how many trials they're going to make and so on. So I just took an example of APT. This method I had explained earlier, but I'm just explaining one more time, maybe with some additional points within it. So this is how it works. So the message is, it's not about how many times one stops out. It's about how much one loses when stops out. If you got this one, you got the gist of risk management. And sometimes one can trade only when there is clarity. So what I have taken 2 scenarios. One can think differently, that what if I trade short only when it breaks down? And what if I go long only when it breaks out? So this is what I'll explain in one of the videos that I shared with you. Right. So what I said earlier is where someone is taking position when it is neutral between 2 levels, somewhere in middle. Right. But one can take decision when it has definite move, when it crosses the line. So in that also, of course, it can goes down, but then it bounces. So if I short on breakdown and then goes here and then bounces, I know where to close it with my planning. I would keep, so if I'm entering short here, I would keep some space based on my risk tolerance, whatever 1%, 2%. And I have to be prepared that it was a false breakdown and I had to close my short. Similarly, if it is bouncing and crossing about this one, I'm going long. And what if it goes up and then goes down? Then I would have my stop somewhere here based on my risk tolerance, and then I'll be happily stopped out. It's not something I would like it, but I had to take it. And this was a case of false breakout about this one. And this is how planning goes. So I thought I covered all the scenarios where it is neutral and one is taking side, or one is taking side only on a breakout, on an upside or downside. But in that case, how one could think about false breakout and have management. So these are the things. I hope you will find this useful, very important. People lose a lot for silly reason, and they make huge mistake in sizing. Okay, so let's continue with the stuff. TA stuff. Okay, so there's nothing more to add. As you could see, atom is exactly at the same place as it was earlier. What to say? Nothing to add. So the pressure is still building on this line. So we can say the structure is kind of neutral, right? Because this low is not taken, but we can say that this is not moving up and staying here. That means it's the pressure is still on this line. Right? So one way to say this is neutral, but there is no positive news at this moment. AVAX, same thing, nothing much, holding up, no progress. It made new lows tiny bit, but nothing major. Still here. Still, these three candles are within this big one. It saw nothing major in this week as well. Dogecoin. So I mentioned the Dogecoin. So this was pumped because of Elon's all the gimmick that he does, right? Changing the logo of Twitter pumped, and then when he changed back to the earlier one, then it dumped. So this coin is, as I said, I've been saying this for long. This coin we kept only because if Elon makes a move on the and make this as a currency for his private company, he cannot do for public company, I believe. But if he does it for private company, then probably I mean he can do for public company as well. Law point of view, there's no restriction as such, but I don't have enough information because this I'm talking about Doge because Doge is doable like Bitcoin, like because these are proof of work coins, these are not issued by any entity. So that's what I'm saying. So Doge is same as BTC in terms of uh, uh, the its production point of view because these are mining coins. Anyway, so point is if Elon supports this in a real way, then this thing could go up. Without Elon, this has no support. So again, this is more fundamental, but technically speaking, this is our line, and that line it's right on the line. If it continues and stay above this line, then this is the path we have, right? So it's still here, and yeah, so it's making progress in a way. It went down, but no new low, which is good. And this reaction was news-based reaction, as you know. Technically speaking, it is big picture from big picture point of view. It's consolidating. And there's nothing in this one as far as opportunity or benefit is concerned. If as you could see, it's just zigzag pattern on us. So there's nothing interesting. DOT is flat, nothing much. If you look at it, this is doji kind of a candle, nothing much. EGLD, again a doji candle, doesn't know. These coins are not going to make any move, it looks like, unless BTC makes. Ethereum, because it moved up because of, I think, so it's making progress, but still below. So this is one of the strongest coins as far as price action is concerned. Fundamentally speaking, new software update made this coin more attractive to some traders recently. But yeah, this is much this is much better than uh, other coins, I would say, as far as resilience, as far as stability is concerned. It's really making progress. FET is still consolidating. It's melting down though. It's melting down, but within this confined area. So it's still about this, so it's okay as long as it stays within this box. FIL made some progress. So this is a sign that it wants to bounce, and maybe I'll expand this one because it seems this is more like a center point where it could expand this one in a U-shaped manner. Of course, with this condition that it doesn't break, and then we have to just move this one like this. This is how it looks like, provided this is a support. Okay. But now, as long as this support is not broken, we can say this is the, and if this is broken, probably something like this. So the way I explain in APT, the same thing is here. Remember, if I'm going long, this is my reference. If I'm going short, this is my reference. It's so simple. So I would not suggest what to do. As you know, this is more education, right? From a technical analysis point of view, and some best practices that we um, follow. Right. So this is the potential path if this support is not broken. Remember, the path is always conditional. There's always point of invalidation. So if I'm choosing this path, this point is point of invalidation. FTM, nothing much. So this is my upper boundary and this is my lower boundary. It's right in the middle, like many. So we have to shift this one. The way the pattern is expanding. Yeah. We have to see what level it breaks, because this is nothing for last 3 weeks. It's doing nothing. As far as this recovery, I'm not repeating because this was explained in Bitcoin that this is making progress. If you look at this one, up, down, and then consolidating, and then if it continue moving up and break up out, then it will, then we could see the second leg up like this one, so on. So as far as this recovery process is concerned, it could break if this is broken. Even breaking this one won't hurt because this was the low. So there is some gap here, or I would say this room here. Matic, this is the potential path, but with a condition like what I said earlier. This is the support, or you may refer this low as a support. I don't want to change it because there's not much difference. When it is like this one, you may consider, oh, maybe I'll change it for clarity. Some adjustment like this is required. Like this one was like marginally different. Sometimes it spikes up like this, so sometimes it spikes. So this is totally all right. Sometimes there's a perfect touch like this. Yeah, so not bad. If you look at up, swing, swing, then potential swing. But this could, if this swing will fail, if this is fail, then this particular pattern will be broken. If this is broken, see, then we'll have to think about different pattern. If you, in fact, this could be an expanded pattern like what so I won't explain further. I'm just connecting this because we covered in Bitcoin. This could, in that case, this could be the landing area. Unfortunately, if that happens, if this is broken, there's nothing, you can totally ignore it. But if it recovers from here, then this could be, remember my starting is here. I'm not starting here. Why? It is simply because this is the level, this is the level. It has to break about this level, technically speaking, for it to achieve this path. So this is not the, because this is, I don't want to take sides. Technically speaking, we cannot, because there is equal probability. That's why even my down arrow is here, not from here. It's from here. So this is undecisive. So this is totally valid, that there's nothing we can say. It has to break above or break down for it to be decisive. So this is nowhere. Yeah, it's not confirmed anywhere, technically speaking. Same thing is for here. Maybe I could raise a little bit here, but I'll keep it like that. But yeah, this is simple, like range bound. Nothing more to add. Nothing more to add for you on this one. Very similar. I had to move because the pattern is expanding even further. R&D are doing nothing within this box. It has to break about this. Compared to the only thing is the gap could be different. Like in this case, the upper boundary is more than the down. So that's the only change that you would see in some cases. But more or less it's the same. I would say the same for this one also. Only thing is now expanding it further, so I had to keep on moving and adjusting. So nothing more to add. More I see, look, there's nothing much in this one. Now the trajectory is a little different. Look at this one. So we have to expand like this. What can we do? We can't do anything. So this is a space. There's no price action, so nothing more to add. So this ends the analysis for all the altcoin. In nutshell, I think I covered everything in detail for Bitcoin. That matters a lot. What Bitcoin does, it's Bitcoin will dictate this altcoins, because right now I don't see any divergence from any. So there could be some news-based event like Doge where it pumped, but remember those could be short-lived, and we saw what happened with Dogecoin. So you've got to be aware that whatever happens in few hours is not necessarily a trend changer. It has to break certain levels for it to change the trend. And those levels are captured here, as you have seen. So now information is with you. Now it depends on how you use it, right? And I'm there. If you have any question on what I said, I'm happy to explain. And sometimes it's not financial advice, of course, but sometimes people end up losing a lot um, in during the consolidation phase. Um, in and out, in and out, in and out. That's what happens. So and sometimes people end up losing everything. I'm not kidding. Huge drawdown. So need to be very careful about it. So that's what I would say. Yeah, when once there is a decisive breakdown or breakout, then it makes sense. Okay, we can, before we leave, I think DXY we missed it. So let's look at DXY. DXY weekly, it's on this green trend line, broken here, but yeah, marginally. In fact, if I connect even more precisely, the lower one, yeah, marginally. We'll see. So if so we can still consider this is still a retest from this one. So this low is not broken. This is still consolidation. So the whole entire box, as you could see, this is consolidation. I need this white line. Someone did. This is consolidation. See, there's a range. So this is a counter trend to the main trend. This is a counter trend. Then this is an attempt. That's where the coins went down, and this is where the coin got boost, and as I mentioned, it's not about matching every hours or every day's move, because recently what happened on daily, a very interesting thing happened, that it continued to go down, but Bitcoin or other coins didn't go up. So there was no one-on-one relationship. It's more about trend level relationship. And stocks actually did the opposite. So stock was in line with DXY. So from this phase, if you look at the stock index and the NASDAQ, it went up when this DXY was going down. So with this bounce, the NASDAQ also went down in last 2-3 days. So Nasdaq was more in line with DXY, where Bitcoin was not. So I would not say decoupling for a few days, not at a trend level. When I say trend level, it's very different. On a weekly, you have to say when. So this was October, where everything changed. Even why November leg down, I told you about it. The Bitcoin actually could have bottom or bounce from October only if there was no FTX in November. So because of FTX, there was another leg down on BTC, tiny bit much, but otherwise this was the October top for DXY. Then if you look at the stock index, they bottom on October. So Bitcoin could have bottom on October. When I say bottom, means local bottom, not the app reversal. So, or just to clarify, like this was is a top, but we cannot say it is totally reversed at this moment, because it has to break below this for it to reverse it, because this was the first leg down attempt, and then it could go up, but my arrow is from here because I want it to break above this one. But you can see this is a setup where it is. So if it can, from next 1 week onwards, if it starts going up, it's going to put pressure on stock market and tech stocks in general, growth stocks, and mostly all, and of course on crypto from a trend point of view. So this is very important. So how next week opens, I think is really important. As far as some economic data are concerned, job report, as I posted on info, strong unemployment. Strong means the number went down. What it means, that means the Fed will roll its sleeve and say, oh, we can go up even further. Why? Because the economy is strong. That's what happens. And that's why the yields went up on Friday. Simple reason. If you look at this bounce on Friday is because the strong job report. This was really going down, and it was about to crash. In fact, it's support, like it's like literally like so many touches. If you look at the support zone, maybe I should expand a little more. Nothing big, just to cover the spikes. And this support is really fragile actually. This is really weak level because there are so many touches. I wouldn't say this is, but because of the economic data, this could change. Remember, I always say that fundamentals drive the direction, and technicals offers technical key levels. So these are our key levels, and the fundamental cannot provide these levels, but the technical could. But the direction is driven by fundamentals. So if the market now having, because so many economists now thinking based on the data, and of course more data to become to CPI will come for March month, and that will be the key one, I think, decisive one for the US, and that will determine further. But yes, Friday's data, two data points, the unemployment and the job report, both were positive from people point of view, but not from stock market point of view. Why? Because then Fed can say, okay, now I can fight with inflation with more higher interest rate, because they have to balance out. If the economy starts cracking, and then over tightening could harm and brings the recession earlier in that case. So it's a balancing act. So the market is indicating that because the employment and job reports are strong, and the Fed would go up like by 25 basis points or whatever they decide. And that's why this bounce, it bounced. And that's why DXY also bounced. And so come next week, I think we'll come to know more about it, that how market is taking its position. If market decides that no, now the Fed, next month the Fed meeting, if they're going to go up, because remember the market always a step ahead or two step ahead, forward looking. If the market has consensus that it's going to go up, like if the Fed is going to go up with the rates, then it will start correcting. And that's everything is related, because Bitcoin is not in isolated, of course not, you know that, right? So it's in a technical point of view also, I highlighted why it is important. So it coincides. These are at support, so the yields are at support, right? DXY is at support, Bitcoin is at resistance. This is perfect. So it's a perfect alignment between fundamental and technical, in my point of view. Yeah, yeah. With that note, I'll end this session. I hope you found useful. Feel free to ask me more if you want to know more or questions on what I said. Thank you.